This is a follow-up to my first video about taking the starter out of my boat. This is the starter. And I'm hoping that this is my starting problem also, but this is a solenoid. This is the starter. This is the gear that engages. This is called a Bendix. This is when you engage the starter, this gear comes out of the on the shaft and engages the ring gear on the engine to turn it over. And this is held in by the two bolts, one here and one here, from underneath up into the engine. This was the guy that was giving me all the trouble. I ended up holding on to these. You can see that the head of the bolt is kind of rounded a little bit. I'm going to take a file and just knock that off, but I took a wire wheel and cleaned these all up. These are specialty bolts. They have a knurling here, and there's also a step down. And when you actually put these, engage these into the starter like this, you see they stop. There's some interference between the bolt and the housing of the starter, and I suppose that's to keep the engine vibration and whatever from allowing these to loosen. I'm just saying, but these appear to be okay to me. The thread is good, the knurling is still good. Of course, fighting them off, I've rounded these off a little bit. I'm just going to clean that up some, and then be careful about putting them back in. This is the new starter. This was if you shop online, Amazon has starters. I'm just saying you can't use a local. You can't use a starter for a General Motors engine from your local shop. It's got to be marine grade, and the reason for that. This is the standard here, the SAE. It has to be that because the potential for a regular starter, a spark can ignite fumes in your bilge. So that's like critical that you use a marine grade starter. Everything is sealed so that if there is a spark, it's inside the housing. So anyway, but you can buy, this is an aftermarket starter, probably came out of China, I'm going to guess. And you can buy them anywhere from, cost-wise, you can buy them any place from about $50 up to $275. If you get the OEM version of the starter, the original Mercruiser, it's about $250, give or take. I could find it different places. And Sierra, which is also a good brand, it's aftermarket, and I found them to be very reliable and of good quality. Also about the same price, about $275. So those are the things. So that was that's about starters. How I finally got this thing off is, I'll show you on the boat, but I tried PB Blaster. If you look at where this this outside bolt is, this one you can only feel from underneath, and I got a socket on there, and that one came up pretty readily. This one was frozen, and what I think had happened was this boss here matches up with a boss on the engine, and that's open. It's drilled and tapped all the way through, and I think maybe, I don't know, seawater, water of some kind, whatever, got in from the top and rusted that bolt into place. So that, and what makes it more difficult is that there is a plate, a portion of the engine is right friggin' here. And so when you have, I'm going to do this from the top, but from the bottom, well, let's do it from the bottom. When you have this on here just like this is the only space. If this is up against something, that's the only space that you have right there. Is just a little tiny bit, and you cannot get a socket on there. You cannot get a socket on there. I tried open-end wrenches, and I was worried about rounding this off. I ended up taking an old box wrench that I had, a 1/2-inch box wrench, and grinding the outside diameter of it such that I could get it up there, but I could not get enough purchase on there in order to loosen it. I tried with, put another wrench on the end of that wrench. I tried strapping two wrenches together with hose clamps to get whatever. And of course, the way my engine is mounted, there's a stanchion here with the engine mounts are right here. So even if you get it in there, there's no place to swing. It's just like the worst case. So then after trying the PB Blaster, I soaked it for like 3 days from the top, sprayed it in here wherever I could get it in, whatever. Somebody had mentioned one of the things that I've never tried before, but I had the stuff here: automatic transmission fluid, ATF, and acetone at 50-50 mix. So I had a little tiny oil can that I didn't use for anything, and I ended up taking the mixing 50-50 in that little oil can, and I was putting that on the top also. And then ultimately, I still couldn't get enough purchase on there. So I thought maybe if I got a socket. So I went through, I have, a couple of toolboxes full of old tools, and I went through and I found a 1/2-inch socket. Again, it's, this is a 1/2-inch socket, and you can see the fit is, friggin' perfect there, right? So, what I ended up doing is going and I have an adapter for 3/8 drive that I ended up sticking in a drill, and then going up against my, I found this one and one with a 1/4-inch drive that actually had the adapter for 3/8, and I put those into onto the adapter, stuck them in the drill, and ran them up against my bench grinder to take the material off, to thin the nose of this thing down to be able to get down into the area that I couldn't otherwise get into. And I did it with a ratchet, and still, when I started to pull on the one with the 1/4-inch drive, I had thinned it down so much that the drive actually broke. The socket broke. It opened up. I had splits all the way around where the nut had actually forced the socket apart. So this was my final attempt here. And this, you can see the amount of material is still very thin, but enough in order to grab that nut. So finally, I said, something, the only thing that the last piece of this before I pull the engine out of the boat, and I dread doing that. I'm not really equipped to do it. I'd probably have to take it someplace, and I'd have to tow the boat to get it out of here, is to put heat on it. So one of the problems is there's hoses and stuff. I'll show you in the boat, but there's hoses and stuff everywhere. And what I ended up doing is that boss that's here on the engine that this bolt comes into is about maybe 1.5 or 2 inches tall, and it's part of the structure of the engine. And I ended up putting a putty knife on this side of it, and the other side there's metal, and there's plastic down below. I don't know, I set something on fire, but anyway, I heated that boss as much as I could with a propane torch, and then I got on it with my 3/8 socket and a my socket with the wrench, and all of a sudden she moved. And of course, then it was just a matter of taking this one out. And there was still a bitch to get out, and I'm sure it's going to be a bitch to put back in. But anyway, that's the story. And I did get it out, and here it is, and there's the replacement. So I'm going to show you in the boat what, how the setup looks, and maybe that will help somebody else also in the future about getting theirs out, because I'll tell you what, I was ready to throw in the towel. I mean, I'm pretty persistent, but I was just ready to throw in the towel. So there it is. Here's my success. I was Mr. Happy all day yesterday, and here we are. And I ordered the or actually it was a Friday, and the Friday night, and the thing came yesterday, Saturday. So today, Sunday, I'm going to put it in. This is the adapter that I used on my drill, and there is the socket, and I just put it in and ground, with the thing running. Obviously, I put this in the drill so that it was turning and I got even all the way around. And then I ran it up against my grinding wheel and took the material off to get it to where I could fit it onto that nut. So I'm back in the engine bay now, but this is the 1/2-inch socket that I ground down that was fit for a 1/4-inch drive. And actually this had an advantage because this got me down below where that I needed clearance for the head of the ratchet. But you can see, if you look carefully on here, you can see where the socket actually split several places as the nut was trying to turn, and this was going no place. So anyway, this was a failure. And then the other thing that I tried to do is where I had ground down this. This is an old SK wrench, actually. I think it's SK. Yeah. This was a 1/2-inch wrench. I ground down the outside so that I got the clearance that I needed, and then I actually strapped another wrench on so that whatever. But one of the problems is that down below here, this is the stanchion for the motor mount. You know, here's the motor mount, and you don't have any swing, you know, so that was the issue. Now I'm going to reposition myself here so I can show you some other stuff. Put on a light, maybe it'll help see some stuff over here. But you can see this is the boss on the side of the engine, and the bolt goes up through the bottom here. That the starter, the top of the edge of the starter sits right up here. And I think that what I'm going to do, aside from putting some anti-seize on the bolt as I put it in, I'm also going to, I think what happened is that salt water maybe, or water period, got into the top and rusted that thing in place. So between the penetrance that I used and the heat, that's what broke the thing loose. But I ended up setting some plastic down here on fire, and I really don't know what it is, and I really don't care at this point. I needed to get that thing off of there. So anyway, but what I did is I heated this boss, and that's what got me home free. So now I'm going to try to reinstall the new starter that I got, and we'll see how that goes. I'm not going to try to record it while I'm doing it. Oh, incidentally too, if you this piece right here, this is a high amperage fuse, and you test this to make sure that you're not fighting a losing battle. If you get no click at all, this is the first place to look to see that you've got continuity through here. I did, I checked that. That was one of the first things that I did, but I just wanted to mention that in case you're you're doing what I'm doing. It's nuts. Okay, so I'm going to try working on putting the starter in. Okay, here's my collection of stuff. My batteries are all hooked back up again. I'm hoping that I don't have to shim that fucking starter. That's the other thing, is that if the pinion gear on the starter doesn't engage the ring gear on the engine correctly, you have to shim the starter bolts one way or the other, which means disassembling half of the shit. But the only way I could find out if the engine was going to start or run is by reconnecting the batteries and everything and moving all the junk out of the engine bay, which I've done now, and I still think I've got a problem. That's my double battery charger over there, and I still think I have a problem with it. So anyway, here's the moment of truth. That's the fuel pump. Yay! Yay! All right, so all my swearing and bitching and moaning and complaining, and I did it, and I got it done, and it's finished, and now I can take my boat back out again. So anyway, thanks for watching, and if you have questions, you know, I'll answer whatever I can. I still have a couple things. I wired I tie wrapped the ignition wires out of the way. I got to cut that, take the rags out. That's my kneeling pad, although I have an old bedspread over here that I was using because I can't be on my knees that long. Anyway, that's all the stuff. If you look down in there, you can see all the stuff that's in front of that. Now I use NICs on the 2 bolts that I put up there, and I snug them up rather firmly but not overly tight, and then I sprayed everything down with fluid film. This is the stuff here, and mechanics that I know swear by this stuff as far as, you know, keeping stuff from corroding, and it lasts a long time, and it's I don't know if it's organic or not, but anyway, everybody rants and raves about it, so I bought myself a can, and I've been doing that for anything that's going to rust. So anyway, comment, subscribe, like, all of that's good, you know. And like that paddle's going to push this boat, but I got it anyway. I mean, I have a boat hook and everything here. Okay, so that's it. Peace, love. I'm out. Bye.